All right, welcome back to another episode. I am so excited today to be with my friend and peer and amazing business owner, Gemma Bonham Carter, who is going to get ready, get your notebooks out, okay? Because you can only expect that she is going to drop some gems today. So, welcome to the show, Gemma.
Jamila, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. It's been a while since we've caught up, and your energy is so infectious and bubbly and happy, and it's nice to be in the Zoom room with you again.
Yeah, I'm same here. I'm super pumped. Okay, so first, let's just kind of set the stage and share, what your business is and who you help.
Sure. So for many years now, I've been helping digital course creators through the creation of their online courses, but then also through the marketing and growing and scaling of their courses as their business model. It's the business model I've used since 2016 to really help me build a lifestyle first business that really works within the boundaries of motherhood and life and wanting to travel and all those things. And at the time of this recording, I'm also kind of shifting a little bit. You caught me sort of mid pivot into really teaching more now also about AI. So not giving up, where I've been for the last sort of 5 years, but integrating this into the mix. I've really become interested in AI since I've been an early adopter. We're coming up on our third year of hosting the AI Unlocked Summit. And I am keen now to really teach people how I have been able to leverage AI to run the back end of my business so much more efficiently and seamlessly and cheaply, is that a word? Than ever before. So,
Okay, so let's talk about that. What actually, because AI has become significantly more popular over the last, let's say, year or
mhm.
two. And a lot of people kind of took the camp of like the doom and gloom, like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a disaster. And, there's other people like you and I that have been like, okay, let's get into it. Like,
Yeah.
how do we leverage this? So I maybe first speak to kind of what inspired you to kind of be on that side of the camp that was like, I'm going to go for this. And how did you get started in the process?
Yeah, well, I think you and I are really similar in the way that we think about systems and operations. So when a new tool comes available to help you do that better or do that more efficiently, it feels like a no-brainer to jump in and see what you can do with it, right? So I literally can remember lying in a hotel room bed. My kids, we were all family, whole family in one room. My kids are already sleeping. My husband's reading a book. I'm on my phone. I've just read for the first time about this thing called ChatGPT, and I've signed up for an account. It was when they were still limiting the numbers. Do you remember at the beginning? And
Yeah.
I asked it a question. I said something I went immediately to business things. I was like, I think I said something like, write me an Instagram caption and talk to me about evergreen funnels. And the caption it wrote me, I was like, stop, as if there's this thing doing this for me in a matter of seconds. So mind was blown immediately. And while I absolutely can understand the nervousness and sort of the ethical considerations of AI and all of the other things that come along with that, I definitely jumped in to trying to understand how best to use the tools. So at first, I feel like that first year was figuring out prompt engineering. How do you ask it to do what you want it to do? And how do you ask it in the right way so you get the output that you want? In the last 8 to 10 months, that has gone to another level of now utilizing what ChatGPT would call custom GPTs. If you're using Claude, you would call them projects. If you're using Gemini, they're gems, but essentially they're AI assistants, right? And building these little assistants, let's call them my bot squad, where I have trained each bot on doing very specific things in my business. So now instead of it just being Gemma and her VA, it's Gemma and her VA and her 25 little bots in her squad who can do all of these things. And while I think it is still so important to be, I think even we'll see even more so in the coming years that your own voice and your thought leadership and your originality and your ideas will become more and more important through the like noise of same echo chamber AI produced stuff. There's still a way to utilize AI to help you get your message further, faster out into the world. And that's really how I'm using it.
Yeah. And I love that you said your bot squad. So do you think of AI almost as having different positions in your business?
100%. Because what I found was when I was testing these, the very first AI assistant I tried to build, I gave her a lot of credit. Okay. I was like, she is going to be able to do this and that, and we're going to train her on all the things. And I gave her like everything in the kitchen sink and asked her to do everything in the kitchen sink. And she got confused. She hallucinated a little. She was like not really on point. And at first, that can make you feel like, okay, this is kind of garbagey. I'm not going to bother with this. But then I thought, okay, let me make it really simple and like have one task for this one bot and make sure that she is totally informed. Like imagine bringing on a team member who is so specialized in one thing and what you would need that person to be trained on and what they would need to know about you or your team, or your brand or whatever it might be. And when I realized, like, if I got laser specific in what I was training it on, whoa, the outcome was amazing. So then that like flourished into more, right? I was like, okay, if I can do this for this one thing, like, let me see the other things I can do it for. So do you want me to tell you the one that kind of blew me away? The first
Yes,
one I
yes,
did
let's
that, like,
hear
I
it.
kind of got it.
Yeah.
So it was a podcast assistant and I called her Pod Pal.
Okay.
And what Pod Pal did was I love podcasting. I love hopping on the mic, talking about something. What I hated was afterwards being like, okay, I got to write the show notes. Then I got to think about my title. And then I need to think about the SEO description and put all these pieces together so we can actually publish the show. So PodPal, I built her to, and I should say, I used AI to try and do these things, right? I was like, hey, ChatGPT, or here's my podcast. Give me some show notes. And the show notes were so generic. They sounded not at all like me. They didn't vibe with my style of brand voice. And even when I told it some stuff, still didn't do an excellent job. But when I trained this AI assistant to be bang on, and went through a little bit of optimization and iterations. Now in PodPal, I literally will I'll record. I have a free little tool for transcriptions. Then I copy paste the transcription. I don't even have to give it instruction. I just paste and drop the transcription in, and within seconds it gives me back my show notes that are exactly tailored to me, including like, Jamila, if I had you on the show, it'd be like, here's the links for all of her things. And I don't even need to ask you for them anymore. As long as you've
Wow.
mentioned it in the show, it knows to go and pull it, right? So I don't even need an intake form anymore because it's doing it for me. It would give me like 10 titles based on the titles that that sound like me. It would give me my SEO blurb, like all the things in one spot. I could send that to my VA and she publishes and it's like done and dusted. There's probably something I could even automate so she wouldn't even have to put it into WordPress or whatever anymore, right? Like there's probably another automation level that I haven't untapped there, but just PodPal on her own, I was like, this is it.
Nice, nice. Is it Chat GBT, the tool that you're using to create your pod pal?
Well, I use both. I was
Okay.
very loyal to ChatGPT for a long time, but I heard all these people talking about Claude, so I went over and I tried Claude, and I think they're both great. I think some things do better in one versus the other. I can't say I have a particular favorite at this point, and I also feel like they're always changing, right? Like I have found Claude to be better for long form writing and like maybe more like deeper thought, deeper research, and ChatGPT better for succinct, quick tasks, and also better for being a little like sassy and bold for like social media captions or, things of that nature. Like she's a little spicier. And so, but who knows, right? Maybe in 6 months, the playing field will have leveled. I think both are great. And it sometimes is just like user preference.
Okay. And for someone who's kind of new to this whole AI world, will you give a little bit of insight when you say training the tool to be able to, training your pod pal? help them to understand kind of what you're doing to train them.
Yeah. So the idea with any of these assistants that you want to build is the more concrete, specific stuff you can give it, the better the output will be. So imagine it's like a person, right? So if you've hired, let's say it's a copywriting thing that you're trying to build. If you've hired a copywriter, you likely need to give that copywriter maybe samples of your past work. You maybe need to give it words that you do say and don't say. The don't say is almost more important. You know, like I'm like, I will never say these words. And here's the list. Um, and then very clear instruction. And I will say, like, my instruction files for my different AI assistants, like, they're pretty thorough. ChatGPT gives you an 8,000 character limit. I pretty much use all 8,000 like every time. And then I add in what they allow you to do, both Claude, ChatGPT, they allow you to add in supplemental, like they call them knowledge files, but it's basically like, let me give you extra things so you can do this job really well. So it's almost like if you had like a training manual for a new staff person, it's like putting that on. So I will give you one like hot tip. I created for my own business like a brand book. And that brand book has not only what are my offers and that kind of thing, but it has pages on my target audience, like the most in-depth stuff about who they are, and has writing samples of mine, stuff about my tone of voice, all the things, and stuff about me, like my personality, things like that. And that brand book, I can attach it as a knowledge file to every AI assistant I build. So I don't need to recreate the wheel. I have it in this one document and I put it in all the places.
Yeah, love that. That's super awesome. And I totally agree with you that it is important to tell it what not to say. I found myself telling Chat GPT that I do not use the words work-life balance. It does
Right.
not exist. Do not put that in anything.
Same. There's like the jargony stuff like that we're
Right.
like, no, we're not going to be using that. And then there are words that probably also won't align with your own, like your values and how your values come through your writing. So for me, like I would never use the word tribe. And ChatGPT likes to use the word tribe, and that's
Yep.
not for me, right? So like
Yeah.
I have that very clear in my thing. Even like sometimes gendered stuff, like I try and stay away from that. So, you know, things of that nature. I just think you can be really clear about that in the beginning. And the more effort you put into that work, the better and closer your results are to being perfect. And then you don't need to go with this like back and forth thing.
Okay. Now, I know, Gemma, you are an epic email writer. Have you been able to get any of these tools to a point where you feel like it can start writing some of your emails?
Yes. Yeah, like I have an AI assistant that is built out on so I gave it my brand book. I also gave it a ton of my emails to show like, hey, here's what this should sound like. This is my style. And then gave it, you know, instructions and trained it on sort of best practices to do with email marketing. But here's the thing, I come to that AI assistant always with my idea.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, hey, I already know what I want you to write something about. And usually what I'll do these days is take my phone and I tell it, like you know, get my AI assistant up and like, here's what I want to write an email about. And I will brain dump for sometimes they're like 2.5, 3 minutes of just like me rambling on about something, send it into my, you know, assistant, and then it pulls out for me a really good email that sounds like me. And sure, there might be little things I edit, but if it's like 90% of the way there, and it was from my original idea, right? And so I can
Right.
layer in, that's why it's like I can layer in a funny story or an anecdote or whatever it might be that's going to make it like a Gemma email.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So good. I'm like, if Gemma can get her emails to sound like her, listen, there's hope for me yet because I'm still writing my emails and I will use, a little AI to kind of tweak or clean it up, but I definitely, got to do some more training to
Yeah.
really get it to sound like
And
me.
some people feel really strongly that they don't want to use AI in their email or their copy, and that's cool too. Like you do whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, but you didn't just stop there with creating these AI assistants and all of that. You took it to the whole next level and launched a summit around AI and helping other people, in the industry to learn the skill of AI and how they can utilize it in their business. And I just think, number one, not only is that brilliant to help yourself kind of stand out as a leader in this new, industry and new modality that's being brought up, but it also is a great opportunity. Hosting a summit is a great opportunity for business owners in general, and there's so many ways that it can impact your business. So for those that are, interested in the strategy of summits, for their business, could you share a little bit about why this is a good strategy for business owners?
Absolutely. So I had been really hesitant to host a summit for a few reasons. Like I never felt like I had a specific enough idea. And summits have become so popular. And so if they're very broad, I think it's hard to attract in both speakers and audience members unless you happen to be tapping into a niche where summits aren't a thing, right? Like, I don't know, maybe your niche is like dog training and maybe there are
Right.
no summits on dog training. Like then amazing, make it broad, right? But in
Right.
my world and in your world, in B2B and in marketing and online business, there's like a summit every other day, right? So I was always kind of waiting, not really sure that I was going to use this strategy. And then when this stuff with AI happened, and I was seeing already, like, not only was I personally really excited about it, but I was seeing already events happening, and they were either all for e commerce or they were very much in the bro space. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, where are the women? Where are the women? And and also like let's talk about it for course creators and coaches because we're a specific demographic who are going to use AI in a very specific way. So I went ahead. Honestly, I conceptualized and then went live with that summit like within 8 weeks because I was
Wow.
just when I get an idea and I want to go for it, like I don't know if you do human design, but I'm a manifesting generator. So it's like
Yeah.
when I got an idea, I'm like, okay, everybody, ditch what we were doing. This is the new thing.
Yeah. I'm the
And
same
I
manifesting generator.
totally, I had to really tap into my network that first year because I had an unproven summit, right? So I couldn't like just put a call out for speakers and expect that I was going to get a lot of speakers. And so this is something that your listeners, if they're thinking about doing a summit, you really need to think about like if this is the first time you're hosting something of that nature, you are going to need to do the legwork of like inviting people and creating like that personal touch and really making sure it's going to be a win for them, not just a win for you. And so that was also and has remained true. Part of that summit is like I, want my speakers to sure maybe it's a visibility win for them because I have an existing audience, but I also want them to feel like we have a very generous affiliate commission. So if they send any people over to the summit and those people make sale or those people purchase the all access pass, like they're winning in terms of like they get a paycheck at the end of that event, right? So I also didn't do any you know how summits often it's like you have to send 2 emails and you have to do 4 social posts. Especially for that first year, I was like, I'm just gonna be happy if I get people speaking. So like I'm not gonna put requirements on you. If you're gonna like participate and show up with a talk, we're good. Like I'm excited about that. So I think that really helped get it off the ground. And then we had a raving success after that first year, like great feedback from the speakers in terms of like the organization and the how it went, but also incredible testimonials from the participants and like it showed in the numbers, we felt like we really knocked it out of the park. So then when year 2 came, I was able to just say, I just put the call out for speakers and we filled it. Like I was astounded at how many applications we got within a week. And we had to close it down. So yeah. So, and to get back to your question of like, why is it a good strategy? Like, it's a great strategy because it is expanding your network. And I really do believe that your network is your net worth. And I went through years of not sort of pouring into networking. And ever since I've sort of made a conscious decision of doing more of that, it has always come back to me in spades. So it's really nice from that point of view. But then it's also really nice to you have the opportunity to get in front of all of your speakers' audiences if they do share about it, right? There's just like a really collaborative thing that happens. You can really grow your email list with a strategy like that. And I also personally loved that it wasn't like the Gemma show. Like
Yeah.
I loved it being a stage for many minds, not just mine. It really, I don't know, somehow like reduced the pressure.
Yeah. Okay, so much to unpack there. So first, let me just tackle that little piece about the not being the Gemma show, because I think sometimes people can feel like if I'm not interviewing the person, if I'm not being seen, they're not going to see me as the expert. So help us with the thinking behind that. Like, how do you still benefit if you're not the center of attention in every interview?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I think it part of my answer is in the way in which I saw this summit as a product was not as how people often use summits as like a launch event. It's like we're going to run this summit and then I'm opening the doors to my offer on the back end. And that's fine. But that wasn't my goal here. My goal was the summit is the product. And so I didn't need to be the center of it because I wasn't trying to warm people up to buying something from me at the end of the day. I was warming them up to buying the summit. And so and it's also when it came to like AI, and this might be different for different niches, but for AI, it's like I wanted tutorials, right? I wanted like if you know me, I'm like strategy, I'm nitty gritty. I want you to show me the how to. I don't just want interviews. Um, and so that also was part of the decision making there of like, yeah, this summit, it's not a bunch of interviews, me interviewing people. It's them coming in and sharing their expertise and brilliance. And what we make money from with the summit is people buying it for the all access pass because they're like, wow, there's like 50 tutorials in here. It's like an AI course. And
Right.
I'm going to buy that so that I can go back and watch these things and use it in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally makes sense. So instead of the summit being a vehicle for launching into a program like a high ticket program or something like that, the summit itself was actually the product that people were purchasing. So there was no need for you to be center stage because you weren't leading them directly into a specific offer. Now, do you think that makes a difference? Like, do you think if a person is actually using it as a launching tool for something that they're offering, that they should be more centered in the content?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe they should be. And so maybe each day you want to like depending on how many days your summit is, maybe there's something that where you're involved. Maybe so it doesn't necessarily have to be that it automatically means it's interview style, but maybe
Mhm.
it means that you are giving talks and tutorials or hosting live things on the days of your summit more than I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just integrating yourself essentially into the content, whether you're doing a kickoff session each day or
That's
something
it.
like that. Totally makes sense. So let's talk about some of the numbers behind your first year versus your second year. So if you think about year one, you say you launched it in 8 weeks. But now I also want to preface this for anyone who's new to this. Gemma already has an existing audience that she's been
100%.
building, over the years. So she had an established, online brand and business and, an email list to go with that. So just want to kind of make that clear. She wasn't starting from scratch, building the summit.
Yeah. Yeah, so numbers wise, like it shocked me in the first year. From a gross revenue perspective, we did 90K in year one. So, and that largely came from these all access pass purchases. That was the main monetization channel in year one. And so we would sell the all access pass, and then we also had a little bump and an upsell offer. So it could be the average cart value went up kind of thing from what the baseline cost was. Now, interestingly, in 2024, so our second year, that actually went down to 78K. And here's where I think, and our numbers were almost the same in terms of participant numbers. So we had like 5,000 participants year one and around 5,000 participants year two. I think one of the things, and this is why I'm a big believer in like testing things in your business and then learning from those tests, I shifted the pricing model. And because year two, we had more speakers. It was a more established event at that point. I thought, okay, I'm going to put the price of the all access pass up. And it actually decreased our conversion rate. So what I did was I increased the front end price, but I decreased the bump price. And first year I had a lower initial all access price and a higher bump price, and it grossed more revenue. So that was interesting to me. So like this year we will go back to the year one model of having like it be quite low on the front end to get the all access pass, and then be a little higher for the bump and upsell to bring up the cart value. So that's an interesting test, but I think that generally speaking, having your all access pass be like under $100 makes it like an easy buy for people. And then the other way that we monetized in year two, which I'm excited to explore again this year, is through sponsorships. And so I had never done that before. And I was actually having lunch with a friend who is, some of you might listen to her podcast. Actually, her name is Ellen Yin of Cubicle to CEO. And she was like, Gemma, you're having a virtual summit with 5,000 participants and you're not getting sponsorship? Like, that's crazy. She does that a lot, and she gets brand sponsorships for events of all sizes. So I really took that on board and opened up a couple of options for sponsorships. And I think we made, I'm just looking here. Yeah, we made about $8,500 on that first year of doing sponsorship. So that was like an interesting new angle that I think has the potential to even eclipse like the all access pass
Yeah.
numbers. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if I were to
Yeah.
really double down on sponsorships, I feel like I could make that a much bigger play. Yeah, so those were the two main monetization angles. Nothing sold sort of on the back end in terms of my programs.
Yeah. Okay, so just to clarify, you could attend the summit for free, right? Like it was a free option to attend the summit, but then the all access pass basically gave them the replays, right? So if you couldn't
Yes.
watch everything, you get the replays with the all access pass.
Yeah, and we kept the free versions of the videos. They timed out, right? Like you only had less than a day to watch
Hmm.
them before it ticked over to the next day.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you wanted to watch ones you missed, or I knew a lot of people who bought it to share with their VA or to share with their team, right? To have their team implement some of these things. So that was a big driver as well. And there were a few other things, like we would add additional worksheets or things like that in the all access pass offer. And this year I haven't sort of made up my mind yet, but I'm thinking about like, is there an opportunity for like maybe a VIP track or something that has maybe some more accountability built into it? I may not leave the videos up for a full 24 hours this time. The window might be shorter. So TBD on all of those things. But this is the advantage of like doing an event or a launch or whatever it might be in your business over and over and over again, is that you can try new things.
Yeah, yeah, kind of tweak. And then what did you use for the expiration? Was that like a deadline funnel link or something like that?
No, we manual over here. We literally go and delete and then put in the new embed code for the new videos. Like that, it was very much, yeah. And honestly, you guys, like I still do that stuff. Like I don't even have because I'm a bit worried that, what if they miss it, or, I just like to know at the beginning of the day the right things are up there. So
Yeah.
that's me. That's me in the background.
Making it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I remember correctly, your year one summit price was like 47 versus was it 67 in year
Yeah.
two?
Yes. Yeah. It was
Okay.
about that $20 jump. And that was always, those were early bird prices too. And then this works really well for anybody thinking of doing a summit. You want to have a price That's the early bird that is before the summit starts, right? So it's like you're getting all your people who are like, yeah, I know I'm going to want the all access pass to this. I know I'm not going to be able to watch them all in real time. And those are usually the people who like, they already trust you. They've been following you for a while. They're really excited about it. So they're all going to purchase during early bird. And I saw big sales during the weeks leading up. And then on day one of the summit, the price goes up. So it jumps $20 or $30, something like that. And then you have that price throughout the summit while it's live. And then at the end of the summit, you're going to put the price up again as the kind of forever price of like, if ever you want to buy the replay, it's going to be this much. So you want to have another price urgency moment then. And those will be the people who maybe they came to some talks and they were like, shoot, I missed a whole bunch, but the ones I saw were really good. I know I'm going to want this. And so they buy during that moment.
Love it. And for those that may not be familiar, tell a little bit about what an order bump is and give an example of what your bump was.
Great question. So, oh my God, yeah, what was my bump? I can't even remember. But usually what an order bump is something that is complementary to the main thing. So it's like if you're selling a course or a digital product or whatever it might be, maybe there are templates that are complementary to the main thing, or swipe files or a tool or something like that. And those are generally what work well for me anyway for bumps. That's what I use a lot of. And then the upsell, I actually can't remember in year one what the upsell was, but in year two, the cool thing was I just upsold year one. I was like, okay, you're buying year two, but if you missed year one, like we're not repeating anything. This is not like everything is brand new. So if you want the year one, I slashed the price by like 70% or something like that. Oh, and I think I put in a bonus of getting like the launch debrief of like the summit launch, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So basically, you were able to, if you're thinking in, traditional like retail, like as a consumer, right? Like people, you go in the store, they have the checkout lined with items that you can kind of grab at the last minute, right? So that same kind of concept where it's like, okay, I can increase my average order value by giving them a bonus, upsell, or order bump or something like that they can.
Exactly. And even online, you see this all the time too. Like if you're buying something on Amazon, they're like, oh, other people who bought that also bought this. Like we think you're going to also like this. And they do it really well. So it's that exact same principle. We're just applying it to digital products or summits or whatever it might be. And the tool that I use is Thrivecart for like all of my checkout. So they make bumps and upsells really easy. But I think no matter what tech tool you have, this is increasingly embedded into the functionality, bumps and upsells. Yeah.
Okay. And for someone that says, okay, this sounds great, Gemma, I want to try this for myself, what do you recommend in terms of how much time that a person should give themselves to from like concept of the summit to when they're actually kind of making it public?
Yeah, it's a great question because it depends on a few things. So number one is if you're going to do interviews, it's obviously going to take more of your time to get all of those videos done with people. I know I have a few clients who have really large summits and they're all they're all interview based. And like it's months of work, right? To schedule those, to get them and it's very demanding. So if you're not doing that route, I feel like you're slashing time. The other thing is I am very quick with like building landing pages. That's just something I've done it so much in my business now. I use templates. We can pull that around really quickly. If that's not in your skill set, you may want to think about hiring someone to help you with that or give yourself enough time to do that properly because it takes a long time. And I should say, I say that I do this. I do, but I definitely have my team member Samantha helping me with this of like if we're showcasing all the speakers, like even just dragging in all their headshots, linking to
Yeah.
all of their Instagrams, like simple things like that, putting in all their titles for their talks. It's that type of thing that can drain a whole bunch of time. So if you do have a team member to help you with that, that's really nice. Or if you can hire someone even off of like Fiverr or Upwork or something like that, just for a short period, that can be really advantageous. So, I mean, you heard me say like we did it in 8 weeks. That I certainly wasn't my full-time thing for all of those 8 weeks. So I think you can do it quickly, but some of these things you have to take into consideration, like, and how much time is it going to take you to tap into your network, to get people to say yes, to explain the concept, to get them on board. I feel like year one is always going to take longer, because then year two, you also like have your pages from last year. You just rinse and repeat, right? And drag in all the new headshots or whatever it may be. So I would say year one, you want to give yourself 2 or 3 months as like a reasonable timeline for something like this.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Okay, so this is great. I also want to kind of just go back and talk about your, core business before we wrap up, because I think it's important people understand that you really established yourself and had a level of success before you kind of launch into this summit. And the AI Unlock Summit wasn't your first summit. You did a Growth Week Summit
That's true.
a
Yep,
couple
I
years.
had co-hosted something
Yeah.
with somebody else. So you're absolutely right. I definitely think it's important to understand that, because numbers like mine, and I always really try and be transparent with things like that. It feels like so much of the time on the internet, we see these huge numbers and we think it's like easier than it really is. But yeah, like when you look at some of these businesses, how long have they been in the game? How long have they been building their audience? And that stuff really matters. Having said that, though, there are examples of people who have grown their business via summits. Like they use that strategy from the beginning to grow their audience. And so a great example is a girlfriend of mine, Marisa Corcoran. She is like a copywriting expert. She has hosted an event called the Copy Chat, and it's a really great summit to attend. It's also an interesting one to look at if you're kind of thinking about this and you want to see how she does it. I think she's hosted 8 at this point, but it was really for her, the idea, these are her words, is like building her own stage.
Mm.
She didn't have anything. She was starting from zero. And so she did a really beautiful job of pitching people in a very thoughtful, personalized way. And I can tell you, because I was one of the people that she pitched, and I spoke at like Copy Chat 1 or Copy Chat 2 or something, when she had almost no audience. But she was very good at relationship building, and it has grown over time. Another one of my clients, his name is Daniel David Wallace, and he is a coach for fiction authors. Same thing. He doesn't use ads. He doesn't really use social media. Summits were his strategy. And so he got other authors and people in that world to come together for a couple of summits. I think he runs 2 a year at this point. And these are his big events where not only are they revenue generating, but it's how he grows his audience.
Wow, that's
But
awesome. Yeah, it's good to know that people are using it as a strategy to grow their business, right? And not just when they're at an established point. One
yeah,
of the things that I think is great about you too, Gemma, is that you're very big on living your life and not just running your business. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, for the last 2 years, you've been able to do a million or over a million in revenue in a 12-month period,
yeah, that's
uh,
correct. Yeah.
all by working like limited hours. So kind of give a sense of what your core offers are in your business, so people can understand, and kind of how did you
Get there.
make the leap to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So the core business model that I use is one of online courses and digital products and programs. So in these past 3 years of hitting a million, the vast majority of my sales have come from, a couple of key offers, one of which was around $1,000. Another one is, depending on the year, it was anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 a year, because we've increased the price over time. And those drove the majority of my sales. And then I have little offers. I have, I'll do workshops from time to time, or things like the summit, right? Which will bring in, a nice bit of revenue as well. But that's really been the model that I've used. And in the early years, I did do some one-on-one coaching. I mean, in my very early years, before I was even like GemmaBonham.com, I could tell you the 17 different businesses I tried. So like we threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall before we figured out what we wanted to do. And it didn't happen overnight, that's for sure. But yeah, the model is basically having a mixture of low, mid, and high ticket digital offers that, and to your point about like that work-life balance, is that I've structured those offers in a way where, yes, some of them come with support from me for sure, but none come with one-on-one support. Like it's all leveraged. So I've been very clear and thoughtful around how I've put that together. And I, have a small team as well, who obviously I'm not doing all of this on my own. So that's been important. And then I think what's really also important to say is like, I use ads. So we use ads as a list building strategy always, because I, don't have time to be figuring out the Instagram algorithm on my own and mastering it to have organic be my complete, channel of lead gen. So there's definitely like expense that goes into paid marketing from that angle. But yeah, that's the model. And like you said, so I built it. Here's the other thing I think that's important actually is I built this with babies at home. So because babies were at home, it's like I couldn't have calls on my calendar. Who knows when they're going to wake up and like naps are out the window or whatever, right? I had no like childcare. So I had to build within the confines of that, which forced me to use this model. And then I'm just like stuck with it, right? Until I grew it to where it's at now. So I think that's been, yeah, it's kind of like the short version.
What do you think were some of the instrumental, like if you had to pick, kind of three things or something that you did from, going from a multi six figure business to $1 million business, like what do you think were those levers or changes that you made that helped you to really get there?
Okay, well, one is definitely the ads that I've already mentioned. Like if I wasn't using ads, I do not think I would be at 1 million at this point unless I was selling much more high ticket offers, right? Like I think you can get to 1 million if you're selling offers in the 10, 15, 20K plus range. It's a lot easier, right? Well, not easier, but you need less volume
Right.
of leads.
It takes less clients to get there, just different
Exactly.
numbers. Yeah.
Yes. So ads was definitely one. And then another was leaning all the way into email marketing. Like it's shocking how many of my sales come from email. And so I'm happy that early on, I don't know who I was listening to or what I was reading or what podcasts, but someone said email. And I was like, okay. I signed up for MailChimp at the beginning, and eventually moved off of that platform. But I integrated it early on and I'm so grateful that I did. So if anybody listening doesn't have an email list yet, I highly encourage you do if this is the model of business you're looking to run, because that will be your biggest pool of buyers will come from your email list. And it takes a hot minute to like figure out how to do email marketing too. So like the earlier you start, you'll get through those growing pains a little faster. And then I think honestly, the third thing was just sticking with it because sometimes we have ideas of the success coming a little easier or a little quicker. And I just had the vision of what I was building and didn't feel, I mean, maybe if you were to go back and ask me, it felt like I was in a rush to get there, but it's not like, yeah, it's not like I was in a desperate rush. I felt like I was going to figure it out. And so I stuck with it. I think that's, we see this all the time, right? Is like people will not get the success that they want. They immediately shift the model, shift the model, shift the model, shift the product, change, change, change. And you're not going to see the benefit of like small steps adding up over time and that it takes that to get there. Don't believe the like overnight hype stuff on the internet because it's just not true.
Yeah. Did you also do more launches with the products that you had? And just to clarify, Jimmy, your kind of at the time where you made that leap, your highest end product was about $2,000, right?
Yes. When I made which leap to
From
the
six figures to 1 million.
yes. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
around 2000. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Um sorry, what was I'm
Did
missing
you
I
do
forget
more launches? Like, did you
launches.
launch more frequently?
Yeah, good question. I don't know that I changed the frequency. It was that I think it was just time in the marketplace. Like I kept doing them. I kept doing them. And every time they got bigger and they got bigger. So I think it was more that. Yeah, we don't need to go deeply into this, but my strategy has always been having launches and evergreen funnels kind of working together in tandem so that I can be making consistent sales via the evergreen funnels of people who are just like ready to buy as soon as they find me versus the bigger launches where, yeah, we're going to have like a bigger cash flow month, but they obviously take more out of you.
Yeah. Okay, before we wrap, I wanted to just touch on this past year experience that you had of you and your family moving to Paris for a year. And I mean, tell a little bit about that and how you were able to make that happen while also running your business.
Yeah. So my husband and I have always been big travelers. And we did a lot of travel before we had our kids and had lived abroad and that kind of thing. So we always knew that that was something we wanted to expose our kids to. And so we'd always done trips with our kids. But then we thought, well, like, definitely want to do a year or two abroad to give them like a really cool experience to open their eyes to like other parts of the world and how other people live and cultures and all that kind of thing. And then the pandemic happened and we were like, "Oh shoot, like, life can change on a dime."
Mm.
And so it was, I don't know, in 2022, so we sort of come out of the deepest part of the pandemic and we were sitting at my parents' cottage at the waterfront and just saying like, shoot, if we don't do it now, like in the next year, um, if we don't actually start planning this, I don't know that it's going to happen. Cause like once our daughter gets into high school, everything changes. It's like we had this window of time. So honestly, people always ask this, like, how'd you make it happen? You just need to start doing the research and just like you apply for the visa, start to look at housing options. Like I was just out there scrolling the interwebs, found like where did I find our apartment? It was like sabbaticalhomes.com. Like I just went down deep Google searches, and I joined Facebook groups of people who'd done this kind of thing. That was actually a really good source of information, was like Facebook groups. If you want to move to a country, search that country and do like expats, and then
Hmm.
you'll see what comes up. And I don't know, we figured out the school thing. We rented out our own house, just one step in front of the other. It's like building a business, right? You just have to like figure out the next step every time. And then before we knew it, yeah, we landed in France with our luggage and had an amazing year.
Now, your husband had a traditional full-time job, right?
Yep,
Before you guys
he
took
did.
off, did
And
he go on sabbatical or how did he work that
yeah,
out
I
with his
mean, that's
full-time
how
job?
we framed it. He went on sabbatical. But on the back of my mind, I was like, oh, because for a few years before that, we talked about like, will there be a moment where we feel like he could leave his job and come work in the business with me? Because there are
Mhm.
definitely avenues in the business that he would excel in. Like he comes from an IT background, so lots of places where we converge in that way. And like when you have a partner and you're a business owner, it's like you talk about your business all the time. It's like the third child for us. So like he already knew everything about my business. So that was actually our opportunity to just kind of be like, okay, let's test it. It was a year where he did take a sabbatical. Like he couldn't have worked regardless, given the way his job is. He couldn't have done it abroad. So yeah, we tried it out. And then what was funny was like, I don't know, a couple weeks before we were scheduled to come home, his old team was like, "So, you coming back? Like when's your arrival date?" And so we had this moment of like, "Uh-oh, like we, are we gonna make this like a permanent thing?" And we've decided that we are. So for the
Oh,
foreseeable future,
wow.
yeah, we're both working in the business now.
Congratulations. That's so huge.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
did you guys say like we're gonna create a bucket of money specifically for this experience, or did you just say no, we'll just do it off of the regular monthly income that we have?
Yeah, good question. So we did create a bucket of money for it because part of the requirements when we applied for our visa was you have to show that this is obviously going to be particular for every whatever country you're going to, but for us for France, we had to show that we had, enough money to sustain ourselves that year in France, that we weren't going to come and like utilize all of their, I don't know, healthcare, social services,
Right.
whatever it might be. So we had to almost like pre-earn
Yeah.
a year's salary to keep us afloat. So we had to show them that. And actually, we didn't realize that when we first started the visa process. So I do remember in that moment being like, we got to put some more launches on the calendar. Like, we got to move a little faster. So it was like a little stressful to like, totally fill that account. But then actually what it allowed us to do was like really enjoy our time in France, because it was like,
Yeah.
it was kind of like you'd already earned that year. So, it was, I've been calling it was like a coast year for me as a business owner. Like, I've built all these systems, built these products, have a reputation. I was able to keep things floating and didn't necessarily come to the table with a bunch of new stuff that year. And that was okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Gemma, tell everybody how they can reach you, get into your world, learn more about you and what you do.
Yeah. Well, if you're a podcast listener and you like this medium, come on over and find me at the Course Creator Show and hit subscribe. And otherwise, you can find me at GemmaBonhamCarter.com. I am on Instagram mostly as in terms of social media. So Gemma.BonhamCarter. And I have a couple of like freebies. So we'll put those in the show notes, Gemma. I'll send
Yeah.
you a few that
Okay.
you can put in the show notes. We have like one that is launch emails from a successful launch of mine. So if people want to see that, we can put that there for them. And yeah.
Okay, that sounds amazing. We'll make sure we link everything up in the show notes. Be sure to reach out to Gemma, get on her email list. She really sends the best emails. I always enjoy reading her life updates slash, what's going on in the business. So definitely check her out. Thank you so much, Gemma, for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.